Good morning, everyone. We're just going to wait a few seconds for people to hop online. And we should have everyone there. Good morning and welcome to the BluGlass Business Update webinar. My name is Rama and I'm from Atomic Market. With me this morning, we have BluGlass Chair James Walker, CEO Jim Haden, and Vice President Brad Siskavich. The presentation by the BluGlass team will be followed by a Q&A session. If you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A box on the screen. We've also had quite a few questions submitted by investors already, and we'll try and get through as many of these as we can. I'll now hand the webinar over. James, please go ahead.
Great. Thanks, Rama. And good morning, everyone. And thank you for joining us today and giving us your time to hear about the latest that's going on at BluGlass. So the order of process is I will quickly talk about the actual current open share purchase plan, hand over to Jim to give you a business update, and then we'll hand over to Brad to talk about the sales opportunities. And then we'll spend most of our time answering your questions. So as Rama said, please type your questions in, and we'll try to address as many of them as we can. And the ones that we don't get to today, we'll come back to you with responses after the event. So once again, thanks everyone for joining us today. As you would all know, we've got a share purchase plan currently open. That share purchase plan closes on the 10th of June. So we're looking for your support to help execute on our company plans. A brief summary of the offer is we're looking to raise up to $6 million at 0.13 of a cent. Every shareholder has the ability to subscribe for up to $100,000 worth of shares. Those shares will be priced at the lower of 0.13 cents or a 2.5% discount to the 5-day VWAP on the closing date of the 10th of June. With that, everyone who subscribes for shares in the SPP will get a 1-for-1 matching option. That matching option has the same exercise price of 0.13 cents, will then expire in 31 May 2026. On the assumption that that option is exercised, there is a piggyback option attached to that, which would then expire 2 years later in May 2028 with an exercise price of 0.119 cents. The other part to note is we have a clause in the first option, which is they will expire in 31 May 2026 or earlier. The company has the option on the signing of a Tier 1 product development contract or revenue generating contract of at least $3 million. The company has the ability to give you a 30-day notice period to exercise those options earlier. Clearly, if when that contract is signed, there will be a re-rating we would expect there to be a re-rating in the share price, and hence the ability to raise extra cash at that time and execute on our plans quicker would be really important. And that's why we've added that clause of an early trigger for the signing of a material Tier 1 contract. So if there are any questions on those, we'll try and address them today. If not, you can reach out afterwards. So with that, I'll hand over to Jim for a business update.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks, James. So BluGlass, where are we at in 2025? Well, we are attracting industry leaders because of our next generation high fidelity, high power devices that are gaining traction in precision applications. They're driving new frontiers in quantum, in the defense and in aerospace and in biotech. We're being recognized as a global leader in visible lasers, though we've only been a company for a short period of time. Our DFB and single mode high fidelity lasers driven by our MOPA designs, the first ever MOPA designs. We had the first GaN DFB into the market, and we've produced now world record single mode GaN laser performance. And we did this all in a few years. This has gained a trust and momentum in the market, and it is helping us to grow opportunities in one of the healthiest pipelines we've had, actually the healthiest, and Brad will talk to you more about that. And it's also attracted a Tech Titan advisory board that has continued to help us advance our technology and our reputation in this field. This is on the back of growing momentum with the 6 million in recent contract wins that we had, starting with an MOU with Applied Energetics into the deal we had with a European customer who was non-laser, but it was a testament to our ability to address the GaN technology that was necessary for them in the GaN electronics. Then we had the multi-phased JDA with a company called Ubiquity. They're now out of stealth mode, and they are a pioneer in the health and biotech, specifically in the the sanitation of for bacterial and viral applications. And this is the first of what we believe it will be a multiple-year contract. And then we won the second year of an ME Commons contract that has been instrumental for us. As I said, we've attracted a technology advisory board that is continuing to help our acceleration. It starts with consortium advisors and industrial advisor board. The consortium advisors are through our affiliations with the SLEEK Hub and with the CLAWS Hub. The CLAWS is part of the ME Commons. That's Professor John Muth and Professor Fred Kish. They are experts in what they do. Fred has been in this industry for many, many years and has been instrumental in helping us design and develop better lasers. Suji Nakamura, the inventor of the blue laser and blue LED, helps both technically and with his business leads in the market, as do Steve and Richard Craig. Richard Craig, you've heard about me talk about an example of my first startup. He was a part of the team that led to the $41 billion acquisition of Spectre Diode Labs. It's where I first learned the project to product strategy that helped us get to that $41 billion. Steve, Rich, and Suji together had a company called Sora Laser Diode. That's where they brought me in to help get that company ready for a acquisition by Kyocera. We didn't know who it would be, but we put it on the market. It was a $450 million deal that closed in 2021. At that time, they had 5 times the number of people that we have. But I will say our technology is advancing more quickly, and we are at a higher level. As I've already said, in a few years, we have world-leading performance. And it's this team and the team that we've gathered at BluGlass that made that possible. In addition, I already mentioned that the 2 years that we've got awarded, the $5.5 million contracts with the ME Commons and the interactions with these other industry leaders have been non-dilutive funding that is sort of showing you real time what happens when you get these contracts, how it accelerates and gives us the momentum that is helping us to build a funnel that Brad will talk about. So quickly on the markets, you've heard us talk about the 3 areas of the market that we are paying the closest attention to are because of their growth. These all promise to be a total of $38 billion market by 2030 to 2033, in that range. And the defense, quantum, and healthcare and biotech industries combined, and they're exciting because if you look at, for instance, the defense market, it has quantum in it. It has biosensing and remote detection, and they have wound care management. So the investments that they do here are applicable into our other markets. Also, it helps us with our strategy to have a platform that we could put together that will span across these markets. And there's exciting opportunities here in the navigation, in the sensing and quantum. And I'll go into more details that how that gets into the marketplace, in the commercial marketplace outside of defense. The quantum sensing market is exciting to us because it is a lead-in to the quantum computing, which is a huge market. But growing to 6 billion is in itself multi-billion-dollar applications that will be open to us with this GaN platform. And what we like about this is it's the same type of interaction with the same materials that are being used in quantum computing. These quantum computing applications, when we interact, the high fidelity light that we are creating with our DFBs and single modes and with the MOPA devices, these allow us to create qubits rather than the ordinary bits that you're used to in your computers. And they help us to do trapping and cooling. Cooling is especially important because right now they have to use liquid helium, and it's expensive and it's cumbersome and it's big. So these GaN lasers promise to have lower air rates, higher fidelity, and scaling down in size and up in volume. The global biomed, biotech, and sterilization markets come together to create a $20 billion market by the 2032-2033. This is basically got two big segments and 16 billion in a medical laser system markets, and then the sterilization market, which is a new and upcoming market for our lasers, is expected to be a $5 billion opportunity. They're multi wavelengths that are applicable in this as well come up and will help for advances in robotic surgery, DNA sequencing, even personalized medicine, so especially when you combine it with the AI from quantum computing. Personalized medicines based on detecting your individual DNA is going to be key to the future. Also, cancer detection and identification, and blood sensing in the lab, in the hospitals, and even reaching into the consumer markets. The sterilization is especially exciting to us, and this is where we're working with Ubiquity. This is exciting because you imagine right now the way that a room for surgery is disinfected is after the surgery is complete. But if we have human safe light that we can do by doubling our blue laser into what's called the UVC range, you could be in a room with coronaviruses and have our lasers killing those viruses so it's not getting to you. It could be in a plane, it could be in a stadium, it could be in your doctor's office. So this is something that's really exciting and going to help not only our communities, but it's going to help us and our investors. And with that, I will turn it over to Brad Siskavich.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. For those of you who don't know me, I am Brad Siskavich. I oversee business development efforts at BluGlass. I'm based out of our Nashua, New Hampshire facility, where we work on advanced packaging, integration, and testing. Go ahead, Jim. So we continue to see strong interest from our customers across all of our market verticals, but it's largely focused in and around the quantum, defense, and biotech applications that Jim just mentioned. Predominantly, the reason that we see these diverse customers coming to us is our ability to offer novel and unique wavelengths of light, high-powered narrow linewidth light, in wavelengths that previously weren't available. And this has actually helped our customers, potential customers, address a lot of long-standing problems or solve problems in ways that they previously haven't been able to. So that's exciting to them, and is that combined with, as Jim mentioned, our recent technological developments. The guys, our tech team presented at Photonics West, world record single mode performance, a broader array of wavelengths for our narrow line with DFB products, and new results on optical amplifier products. So all of those developments have really been key to giving our customers the ability to solve problems, and that is solely responsible for BluGlass developing a funnel that is larger than I've seen since I've been at the company. So if you go to the next slide, Jim.
Oh.
So when we take a look at the pipeline of opportunity here, we're in discussions or pursuing roughly 26 different opportunities, and that represents about 90 to 100 million US dollars in revenue potential in total. These customers vary in size from small startups through larger OEMs all the way into large tier one defense organizations. The size of the opportunities also vary in both scale and scope, from short multi-month engagements to multi-year opportunities that can be on the order of millions of dollars per opportunity. I still think that the biggest driver of the growth in these opportunities has been our application space, and Jim touched on the various markets, but where I see the greatest amount of potential really is in and around the excitement in dollars pursuing the quantum clocks, quantum sensing, and quantum computing markets, where BluGlass has a unique advantage in our narrow line with high-powered wavelengths that really target what our customers don't have available or are looking to integrate both in the near term and then transition that into long-term product markets. And so that really is what has me the most excited about this pipeline and the opportunities in front of BluGlass. So if you want to go ahead to the next slide, Jim. So the key for BluGlass really over the next 12 months is to be able to enter and close on a lot of those new opportunities. But in addition to that, we really have to execute on our current contracts, and that includes both extension or enhancements of those contracts. There's plenty of ME Commons hub opportunities, both in ME Commons projects as well as extension of the ME Commons hub. In addition, the progress that we've made with our current customer Ubiquity provides a lot of ample runway and opportunity to extend those contracts. That will all be driven by our ability to execute, continue to push our technological capabilities forward, higher powers, better fidelity, enhanced wavelengths, as well as not just create advancements in standalone products, but to be able to integrate those products with our customers' platforms. And that is the key for both enabling BluGlass to be technologically successful, but also that is the pathway for us to execute on our strategy of project to product, where we go from these novel discrete components into an integrated system, which is used across the globe. And I think, one example that I really like to highlight, and Jim touched on it, is the quantum computing market, where if you look at the status quo today is roughly 96 or 100 qubits per system. And if you follow the trend of the large quantum computing companies, right, they're trying to ramp from 100 to thousands of devices per system within the next few years. And in order to do that, they're going to need thousands of lasers. And it's not just the fact that they need thousands of lasers. The current lasers that they're using with their advanced tech or the advanced requirements, they oftentimes require an entire cabinet full or a cabinet-sized system, something similar to the size of your refrigerator. So to be able to scale that into the thousands of devices per system, that device size has to come down. And BluGlass enables the ability for these companies to integrate thousands of small components into an area the size of your laptop, right? So that progress is really an example of how BluGlass is positioned to win some of these projects with our novel offering and then execute on moving from project to product revenue as we grow with these system-based companies. And I think that really is what has me the most excited about the potential of BluGlass. And I think that's why we're in a fantastic position to succeed.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Jim. So this is just a quick summary of the timetable. The key date, of course, is that the SPP closes on the 10th of June, so just over a couple of weeks away. And as I said, if you've got any questions after today that haven't been addressed, please reach out to us, and we'll come back to you with any questions. Next slide. I think we're done.
Yeah.
So with that, Rama, back to you to go through and bring up the questions that have been asked so far, and then three of us will address them depending on who the question is aimed at. So over to you.
Thanks, James. We'll now move on to the Q&A session. I'd also like to ask investors to make sure that you identify yourself in the Q&A so that we can get back to you, as James said, if we're unable to get to your questions today. We've had quite a few questions come through around the pipeline and customers. So Brad, I'd like to start with you. Could you tell us what makes up the 90 to 100 million in pipeline opportunities, and what stages are these negotiations at?
So as I mentioned previously, the opportunities that we're seeing are actually all across varied stages. So we have many that are new requests or new interests, and then we have quite a few that have actually been in discussions or we've been working with for multiple years and have entered the late stage negotiations. And I think from an applications or an interest standpoint, there really is two strong pushes, maybe actually three strong pushes, and that is the entire quantum environment, which largely is trying to solve a lot of these challenging problems. The defense environment, where these novel laser wavelengths haven't been available previously, and they're enabling technologies that really push their capabilities further. And then the biospace has always had a large amount of interest, and now the products that BluGlass enables are actually creating opportunities previously that weren't considered. So I think the answer to the question is it spans many different applications, and that's really the driver of this growth.
So what sort of customers are in your pipeline? Could you talk through a little bit more about that, and what do the development activities look like?
Sure. I think the majority of the customers are represented by large OEMs or tier one and defense department organizations, but we do have quite a few smaller opportunities with new startups such as the Ubiquity application.
Thank you. Jim, a question for you. BluGlass, you've already announced some large projects and custom orders, including the US Department of Defense and a multi-year joint development agreement. However, outside of these, the project announcements seem to be slower than originally anticipated. So the question is, why are your projects taking so long to sign and to start?
So the project to product strategy that we have is working. Yeah, perhaps the announcements are slower than we would have liked, but maybe not slower than we would anticipate. We are growing a funnel, and that is because of the strategy. Our strategic partners that we're talking to require rigorous evaluation. There's spec evaluations, performance evaluation, and larger organizations also have qualification of vendor requirements and terms and conditions. These evaluations take time, but they're also one of the key factors that we've talked about is with the project to product strategy. There's the idea that you will be going into from a project to a multiple or year supply agreement, sometimes 10, 20, even 30 years. If you get designed into a plane or a submarine, they don't like to change those out as often. So those are intricate discussions. So I think what I'd just like to reiterate is the strategy is working. And as that funnel builds, then the time between announcements should decrease as well, as that inversely proportional to the number of opportunities we have to work on.
So a follow-on question regarding your project to product strategy. As you've just talked through, you seem to remain confident that this is still the right strategy to go ahead. What else do you need to do, though, to get to profitability?
Well, the idea of again, reiterating what I just said, is the project to product strategy is working, and it's bringing in the non-dilutive funding to drive our product roadmap. That's important because it not only comes in with built-in customers, it gives us other opportunities to go outside of that specific customer with a platform. As we've talked about in the past, we are really trying to develop platforms that cross not only the different applications and markets, but they go deep into those applications and markets for multiple customers. Those are part of the negotiations that I referred to just a moment ago. Now, this is a tried and true model. I've talked about the example of my startup. It's called Spectra Diode Labs, shortened to SDL. When I joined, it was maybe $8 million a year revenue. 90% of that was in projects, and 10% in products. By the time we grew to $1 billion revenue company, it was 10% probably projects, and 90% of that was from products. So during that transition, that's when we become profitable. So in short, we're basically aligning our product development with our customers' product development, and then that's leading into supply agreements for our high fidelity applications that are critical to the quantum defense and scientific markets, as well as aerospace and the medical. And this is all being done with our platform. Those are all key elements to becoming profitable.
Thanks, Jim. James, the next few questions are for you. The board have highlighted a key commercial catalyst to bring forward the options expiry. This would be the signing of a multi-million-dollar contract with a tier one customer. And this would signal growing confidence from the board on the pipeline. Can you tell us what's driving this confidence?
Yeah, and so happy to, and I think Brad's covered a lot of that in the earlier slides. So this is the first time we've put forward a sales pipeline, and we're in a position to do that because of all the technical advantages we've made over the last 6 to 9 months that the team have already touched on, as well as the commercial validation we've got through being the ME Commons program, Department of Defense, and the other contracts that we've recently won. In addition to the fact that we are a manufacturer in the US, with the way the world has changed in the last 5 months, having a in-country manufacturing facility in the US has been really important for us to help fast track some of those commercial discussions. So for the first time ever, the team had felt really comfortable about disclosing what a sales pipeline looks like. And because of that, and as Brad touched on, there are a few of those opportunities of quite significant size that we've been talking to for a long time that we feel are getting very close to being executed upon. And hence we felt very comfortable about putting in that early trigger on the options, because the pipeline is well advanced and we think there is a very good possibility that we'll sign, at least one of those contracts within the time frame. And once we sign that contract, the additional cash of calling for that option by 30 days means the team will be able to execute on that quickly and start delivering on that contract. So a high level of confidence of execution has led to us putting that clause in.
Thanks. A follow-on question, James. Can you describe what you mean by a tier one customer?
Yeah, so tier one means lots of things to lots of different people. In our world, you saw the slide on the ME Commons program earlier in the deck, and some of the customers that we talked to. Tier one for us is, a very significant organization. You can think, Fortune 500. You can think defense primes. In some cases, large consumer electronics companies. So significant global companies with significant revenue, of which we fall into one of their product development contracts, is how we're thinking about tier one. It will be a name that is well known to people when we're in a position to sign those contracts.
Jim, back to you. We've got a couple of questions on people and talent. First one, does the current executive team have the commercial expertise to scale and grow sales?
Yes. I'm confident that we have the right team in place, and it's a team which we will continue to enhance. We've brought in deep gallium nitride fabrication expertise with the acquisition of GaNWorks, and we've accomplished these technological advancements with, as I mentioned, about 1/5 of the workforce that I was part of at KSLD. Our technology is deep and it's broad, and it's more expansive than what I experienced there. And I think bringing in Suji, Steve, and Rich that were involved with that, and they're seeing our team, not only was their participation with us in that, a testament to the team, they're also strengthening our team with their expertise. And they're doing it because they believe in us. And Suji and the three that are through Sleeks and so forth, they're doing it because of our affiliation with those consortiums. But Steve and Rich are taking equity rather than cash for their more detailed and deeper dives that they do with us. So they're much more involved than the other three. But I think their taking equity shows that they believe in our management team. It's not just me.
Thank you. James, a similar question on the board. Does the board have the strategic and operational expertise to oversee BluGlass's growth into a globally competitive laser supplier?
So the short answer is the board has been in place for a little while now. As most people would know, we've definitely enhanced the technical capabilities by bringing in Jean-Michel a little while ago, as everyone would know. We've complemented the board with the technical team that Jim's just referred to. I think there are some extra skills that we could use, particularly when you think about the project to product strategy. And that's a constant discussion at the board level, and how can we help the management team deliver and actually execute on those contracts going forward to actually fast track the delivery of those through the pipeline. So that's a discussion that we're having, and you can imagine over time that the team will be probably look a little bit different.
Brad, back to you. A question on some of your contracts. So what progress has been made with Applied Energetics, Macquarie University, and other members of the Claws Hub that have showed interest in working with BluGlass?
Sure. I think our relationship with Applied Energetics remains strong, and they're making fantastic inroads with the DoD, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there. With Macquarie and ME Commons, we're now in a position where we're delivering hardware and they're deploying it and integrating that. And that is creating additional opportunities through, expansion of hub opportunities, cross-hub opportunities, new projects that have opened themselves up to us. So I think that is going quite well. And the Ubiquity opportunity, which now they're public and we can speak about them more freely, really has strong potential. We've delivered on early stage milestones, and I think what's maybe more interesting is we've developed additional parallel projects and purchase orders as we continue to deliver on the various milestones and tasks that we have to do to them for them in order for them to develop their product.
Jim, a question on your contract with the US Department of Defense, that partnership that you have. Is this translating into revenue, or is it still primarily at R&D stage?
This is reference to ME Commons.
Yeah, that's correct.
Is the question referring to, is it translating to product revenue? Because we are getting contract revenue, and it's been instrumental. As I mentioned, we've won 5.5 million of project revenue from them. But what it has done is it has accelerated our product development, and that has led to the advances where I'm showing that we have now world-class lasers that we didn't have before the investment from the U.S. government. This investment has accelerated that approach, and we've now been able to deliver parts to different customers at different levels and different quantities. We've had an announcement of some work that we did with different institutions. We had our parts were outperforming commercially available parts with one of the science centers at University of Central Florida. We also have had opportunities to introduce semiconductor optical amplifiers that are being used and sampled into various smaller companies and startups. And those had led to then us integrating our single mode into the MOPA products that led to the world leading. So that is an instrumental for us to grow not just the project revenue, but to put us in line to have future product revenue.
Thanks. A question still for you, Jim, on the supply chain vulnerability with all the Trump tariffs. How reliable are BluGlass's supply chains in light of the tariffs and sort of, the recent issues with the global chip supplies?
Well, we haven't felt any impact whatsoever from the tariffs. One might have thought that maybe we would have some lash from some of the products that we buy internationally, but we have not. So I don't foresee that to be a big problem to us. Our supply chain seems to be secure. We're not missing any incoming shipments from suppliers, and the quality continues to be good. We are working very closely with them and have heard of absolutely no problems.
Thanks, Jim. Brad, a question for you on project completion. So once the project is completed and the client is happy with the product, does this automatically turn into a long-term sales contract or agreement?
So I think there's two answers to that question. So first of all, I just want it to be clear that we don't really engage on projects that don't have a future opportunity for BluGlass. We particularly focus upon opportunities where there is upside potential as we move into the product space, and that can be a consumer-based opportunity where they already understand their market and what is required to ramp into that market. But a lot of these contracts are actually either large OEMs or defense-oriented, and there's both transitional contracts as well as MSAs that are negotiated or discussed in early contract phases. So we know and understand the direction that we're headed and the volume that we anticipate at the completion of these contracts. But it's never typically just turn the switch and you're automatically pumping out product. There's a lot of interim steps to prove that not only did our device work, but our device worked within our customer's components, and then that customer's components meets or exceeds the needs of the end user.
Thanks, Brad. Sorry, Brad, if I can just stick with you for a second. One more question around the tariffs. Do the US tariffs impact what the company produces out of Sydney?
They do not influence what we produce out of Sydney, no. But I would just, to add on to that, I actually think there's been increased opportunity for us for a few reasons, in that we are a US-based provider, and any competitors that are using non-US based goods really struggle to compete.
Thanks, Brad. Jim, a question on a customer, Ganvix, that you had announced back in 2022. Is Ganvix still a customer?
So we talked about the three markets where we're focused on, but there's the other markets that we didn't talk about: display and the consumer, healthcare, and then the industrial. In the GaN VCSEL program is one that continues to be of strong interest. It would be an opportunistic play for us going into a consumer electronics field. And so we are engaged with a very large, in what James was describing as tier one company that is really interested in our capabilities, either in edge emitters or potentially a VCSEL program. And that is they place a high priority on working with us and meeting with us. And they were specifically interested in having a supplier in the US of either a VCSEL or a similar performance level edge emitting laser. So still of strong interest in the market.
Thank you. Brad, just back to you, question on quantum sensing and computing market. Is this a long-term market or does it have immediate prospects?
Well, I would say it has both, but largely it's going to be the project to product progress, right? So as that particular quantum computing market grows, there's lots of need for scale. Size, weight, and power have to be reduced, and all of those have to be integrated into their systems. And as they integrate, it really requires a large engineering effort, not only on our doorstep, but also all the additional people that have to come together to make that system work. So it will be a longer term opportunity for it to really grow to size. But I would actually recommend looking into some of the roadmaps that the large quantum computers like Quantinuum or Inflection or an IonQ have published to get a true idea of how much progress they've made already, as well as where they see their roadmap progressing. And it's really not that far off.
Thanks, Brad. Still with you, we've got a very technical question. Can you clarify the expected step change in laser system size to support qubit generation? Is the laptop size to support just 1 qubit or laptop size to support 100 to thousands of qubits versus the status quo of around refrigerator size to support 1 qubit?
Sure. So
got that right?
So that's still being defined and worked out. But I use the laptop as a general size, and that laptop size would actually include, in our view, thousands of lasers, which would be delivered into the 1,000-qubit quantum computer system.
Thank you. Jane, back to you now. BluGlass has conducted several cap raises at lower prices each time, despite significant progress in growing revenues. Can you talk to the share price performance?
So I can, and the company does not set the share price. That's determined by the market and what the market does. And in our views, the market doesn't always represent exactly what the company has achieved, because I think, as you rightly say, we've generated the largest amount of revenue we ever had. We have won the most contracts we have ever won. But the company is still not cash flow positive. And because of that, we have had to raise capital over the years. And because of that, that has led to obviously people working out that we need to raise capital, and that has had downward pressure on the share price. What I'd like to say is, we feel very comfortable about where we are technically. We feel very comfortable about commercially the contracts that we've won and what the pipeline looks like. So it is up to us to prove that we can win those contracts and execute on those to give shareholders confidence and therefore start to see the share price repriced. But the bottom line is we don't set the share price. We have to react to the share price, and we need to execute on our performance to give people confidence that we can actually deliver on what we say we're going to do.
Thanks, James. A follow-on question. What's your expected capital requirement beyond this raise? Do you have plans for future raises or debt?
So the short answer is we think we have built the structure in this raise with the attaching option. So, this raise is being done at, 1.3 cents. The option is being exercised at 1.3 cents and it's a 1-for-1. So we think we have built the structure that on shareholders taking up their entitlement to the SPP, the attaching option with the commercial performance that we think we're going to deliver on, that should put those options in a position where shareholders want to exercise them, and therefore another round of funding that is already been built into this structure. And then the piggyback option that expires 2 years later, That has been done deliberately with a view of that is the funding that should get us to a position where we're very comfortable. But it's up to us to now execute on those contracts to deliver that performance.
Thanks, James. Another question for you. Do you have plans to reduce cash burn over the next 12 months?
So the short answer is the team need to execute on these contracts. And so we feel the team is the right type of team. We think it's the right number of team. The team is very lean. So it is people-based and facilities-based. We think we've got that about right on what contracts we expect to sign. And therefore, if we were to sign contracts and to have a reduced cost burn, we wouldn't be able to deliver on those contracts. And maybe Jim can touch on his experience in his last couple of companies on just how efficient and lean we think our team is and how our cost structure works compared to some of the other places he's worked at.
Yeah, so I already gave the example of how lean we are versus SLD. So to me, the burn rate is, the best way to go after the burn rate is to increase the income of the company. And so we can continue to grow and add to the talented team we already have. And so the much larger team at KSLD was able to have a $450 million valuation. I think that we have the experts in place that we need, and we just need to, like James said, execute, keep delivering on the contracts as we've had. And as we've announced, we've hit every milestone we needed to hit in ME Commons, and that is leading to better performance from our overall platform and leading to more products going into the market.
Thanks, James. James, if I could stay with you, we have Jim, apologies. Jim, if I could stay with you. We've got a question around the SPP. You've indicated the SPP funds will be used for scaling product delivery and capital expenditure. After the SPP, what is your project and revenue capacity? And will you need different product lines for each customer or project?
I just want to clarify, that was to me, correct?
Yes, Jim.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so we continue to upgrade and convert our indium phosphide fab to deliver on our world-class high-fidelity products. In doing that, we've analyzed our current capacity in Silverwater and our Fremont to be somewhere around US 160 million to 170 million per year. As the second part of the question was on different product lines for each customer or product. And no, we don't require separate product lines. And what we have is we have platforms, and in that we developing standard processes and product platforms that address applications across multiple markets. These markets are quantum, biotech, aerospace, and defense. And I'd say, for instance, if you look at our single mode and multi-mode products, we have, I'd say 95% overlap in the processes between those. And then even if you bring in the DFB, the highest fidelity product we have, I would say there's 90% overlap between the single mode and that product. So that not only do we not need different production lines, we don't even need different processes for most of what we do there. And that's what allows us to go after the multiple markets. And using those platforms, some may say it's I've heard the thought that it might lead to lack of focus, but it's not lack of focus because the same products go into multiple markets. So we should take advantage of that, and that's how the platform approach is beneficial to us and to our investors.
Thank you, Jim. James, a question for you. Can you elaborate on why the director's participation in the placement was so relatively low?
So I definitely can't speak for any of the other directors, so I can only speak for myself. So there's a couple of factors in that. One, I have a couple of positions outside of BluGlass, which I also make investments in. So there's definitely something I consider about when I make investments in one and how I do that across the other companies I represent. And the number that is that I've committed to is effectively a pro rata of the entitlement. So that's how I came up with that number.
And a follow-on question, does the board have reservations about the company's short to medium-term prospects?
Well, The short answer is no. I wouldn't be asking shareholders or putting my own money in or asking shareholders to put their own money if I was concerned that the company did not have good prospects going forward. So that's definitely not the case. And I'd like to think that what you've heard today in terms of the contracts that we've won, the technical advances that we've made, and where we are in our own journey in terms of those conversations and the pipeline, means that we feel actually very confident about where we are going forward. You can tell I haven't moved enough. The light's just gone out of my room, so I'm about to stand up so you can see me again. Sorry about that.
No worries. Thank you, Jim. Perhaps if I could sort of close with you. You've had, a really good year with record revenues and new contracts. What can investors expect in terms of news flow?
Well, I think Brad laid it out pretty well. On top of the momentum that we've already discussed, we will continue to drive our cutting edge technology. That is a leading factor for us. We'll be adding to our IP, and this will facilitate the signing of new contracts and the renewing of existing project contracts. In turn, this is building momentum and will continue to build momentum, adding to our long-term project and product funnel. These are all of the areas that you should be anticipating, and we hope to be delivering this kind of news to the market.
Thank you, Jim. Look, sorry, I said that was a final question, but we've got lots of questions coming through, and I'd like to ask one more question, a technical one for Brad. There's lots of different markets, medicine, quantum, are the lasers the same base technology across all of these markets, or does each market require its own specialized laser?
I think we have to just be careful what we would say as specialized, and I think Jim laid it out probably best. We have these platform technologies, so each one of our platforms requires their own special set of development. But as we develop those platforms, they actually are applicable across many of our different applications. Now, there is tailoring that we need to do for specific wavelengths or specific powers or specific line widths. But, as Jim mentioned, on the laser chip and wafer fab front, 90 to 95% of our processes actually overlap and cross many of our platforms.
Thank you. That concludes the Q&A session. I'll now hand back to James for any closing remarks. Thank you.
Yeah, great, Rama, and thanks for hosting us today. And thank you for all the shareholders who've spent the last hour with us. Appreciate you making the time. And as always, appreciate the support that you've given us over the years. I want to be really clear on what reflected in my last answer. We feel that technically and commercially, BluGlass is in the best position it's ever been. World record performance announced about 7 weeks ago. Some great contract wins in the last 6 to 9 months. Not enough to be sustainable, that's clear. But with the pipeline that Brad and Jim and the team have developed, being credited through the Department of Defense contracts, winning new contracts because of that, being an in-country manufacturer in the US, has BluGlass uniquely placed now to actually move to the next level of our commercialization journey, and hence the requirement for capital to help us get there. We think we've priced it in a way that the current shareholders should be rewarded for that loyalty by doing the structure that we've mentioned today. And so, we appreciate your support so far. We understand the questions that we've got today. It's up to us now to execute on what we've talked about, have to execute on those sales pipeline and deliver those contracts to put BluGlass on an onward and forward momentum on revenue first to build a sustainable company. And Jim and Brad have talked about it. This product development to product delivery strategy, Jim has done this multiple times in previous companies. It seems to be working in terms of the contracts where we're winning. As Brad said, we're not doing product development contracts just for the sake of doing them. We're doing with parties who then actually need products at the end of this. So feel very comfortable about the strategy, very comfortable about the contracts we won, feel comfortable that we've now been able to deliver a pipeline, and feel confident about the pipeline that we've actually disclosed that for the first time ever as a company. And it's this capital raise that will allow the team to continue to execute on the current contracts and win new contracts and execute on those. So appreciate everyone making their time today. We look forward to keeping you updated on our progress, and particularly on these contracts as they come to execution stage. So thanks everyone for making the time today. Jim, anything you would like to add to that?
Sure, that was it was a great summary. I'll just add a little bit more. At the AGM, I asserted that we were at an inflection point, and since then we've demonstrated the world's first GaN MOPAs. We quadrupled our DFB output power, and we've demonstrated the highest ever monolithic single mode blue GaN laser diode. This is a testament to our project to product strategy, because these could not have been done without the ME Commons investment that we had in the company. This added significant to our funnel, and we are engaging in discussions now with, as Brad said, multiple levels of customers, from tier ones all the way down to startups, and these are discussions equaling 90 to 100 million in US. This led to confidence in others, so we were able to build a world-class advisory board. And I'd say, in short, we've continued to demonstrate that BluGlass, the only pure-play GaN laser company, provides its investors access to high growth potential emerging markets. So those that we talked about, such as quantum sensing, quantum computing, atmospheric and underwater LiDAR, and bacterial and viral sterilization. Each of these markets alone represents multiple billions of dollars. And our leading edge, high power, high fidelity platforms provide a path to go after all of these markets. In a very short time as a laser company, our lean but excellent team has demonstrated performance that at times is exceeding our competitors who have been at this market for 17 to over 30 years. So we have the momentum behind us, and we have the platform that addresses these multiple markets. I think it's a great time for BluGlass.
Great. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. And with that, the webinar is now concluded.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.